Have you ever felt like life was just putting you through one impossible test after another? Well, today we are going to break down what might just be the toughest job interview in all of history. And the grand prize? It wasn't a corner office or a big salary. It was immortality itself.
Yeah, you heard that right. This is an ancient legend, but we're going to look at it in a way that makes total sense today. So forget about those typical interview questions. This was a year-long, high-stakes, almost reality show designed to test one thing and one thing only: what a person is truly made of on the inside.
So let's meet our two main players. In one corner, you've got the interviewer, Zhongli Quan. He's a senior immortal, but he looks more like a carefree wanderer than some kind of celestial HR manager. And in the other corner, our candidate, Lu Dongbin. A brilliant scholar who's got the brains, he's got the looks, but he's just feeling kind of lost in life. It's a pretty unlikely pairing for a divine job opening, right?
And just look at this job description. The position is to become one of the legendary 8 immortals. Tenure? Oh, just permanent. The primary benefit is, living forever. No big deal. But here's the kicker, the key requirement: a flawless character. No resume, no references, just a pure heart. That's it.
So the interview begins, and Lu Dongbin has no idea what's coming. His entire world is about to become a series of incredibly elaborate, high-definition illusions, all orchestrated by Zhongli Quan from up above to see what he's really made of. Okay, let's dive into this.
The very first test. Wow, it hits him right where it hurts. Lu Dongbin comes home from a trip to find his entire family, his wife, his kids, everyone, just lifeless on the floor. I mean, can you imagine? It's a scene of absolute horror. But instead of breaking down, instead of screaming, he just takes a long breath and says this. He shows zero panic, zero despair, only this profound acceptance of the natural order of things. He just calmly starts preparing their burials. It's unbelievable.
And just as he's about to place them in their coffins, they all wake up totally fine. Way up in the clouds, Zhongli Quan is watching and gives a little nod. First test, passed. Lu Dongbin showed he could see past the illusion of life and death.
All right, next up is a test of his attachment to material things. So to make ends meet, Lu Dongbin is selling an old family antique. He agrees on a price with a buyer, but then the guy just suddenly changes his mind, throws down half the money, and walks off with the piece, just like that.
But it's his reaction that's so interesting here. Other people are telling him, hey, call the authorities. But he just kind of smiles. He gets it. His peace of mind is worth way more than a few coins. He understands that ruining your own mood is a much, much higher price to pay. And you guessed it, the verdict comes from on high. Passed. His detachment from wealth proved that his mind wasn't easily swayed by greed or, these petty little disputes.
Okay, let's jump ahead to one of the most intense trials. All of a sudden, Lu Dongbin gets arrested. He's been framed for theft and for murder. He is facing torture, public humiliation, and a death sentence for a crime he absolutely did not commit. Now, in the face of these horrific, totally unjust accusations, he is just completely calm. He doesn't scream about his innocence. He doesn't curse his accusers. He shows this just radical acceptance of his fate. He's completely unattached to his own reputation or even his own life. And then, just moments before the sentence is carried out, the real criminal is found. Lu Dongbin is set free. And does he ask for an apology? Does he celebrate? Nope. He just dusts himself off and walks away. He passed the test by completely letting go of his ego.
So how does he handle pure, primal fear? Well, while he's meditating deep in the mountains, a massive roaring tiger leaps out of the shadows, ready to pounce. Its teeth are literally inches from his neck. He opens his eyes and he looks at this beast, not with terror, but with compassion. And then he says this, offering his own body to the tiger. He doesn't see an enemy. He just sees a hungry creature acting on instinct. He accepts death without a fight. At his words, the terrifying tiger just vanishes into thin air. Of course, it was another illusion. He proved that he was free from the most fundamental instinct we all have, the fear of being destroyed.
So after enduring trial after trial, testing his patience, his detachment, everything, the final challenge arrives. He's by a river during a huge storm, and a boat capsizes, throwing dozens of people into the raging water, and no one, not a single person, dares to help.
And here's the crucial point. This test wasn't about what he could endure anymore. It was about what he was willing to give. All the other tests were about inaction, not getting angry, not getting greedy, not being afraid. But this one was about pure, selfless action. He was ready to give his own life to save total strangers. The moment he makes that choice, the raging river transforms into a peaceful garden. The whole reality show is over, and then Zhang Liquan descends from the sky, fan in hand, with a big smile on his face. And then Zhang Liquan explains the real point of the whole interview. It wasn't just to see if Lu Dongbin could endure hardship for himself. The final, real question was whether he was willing to take on the suffering of others. And Lu Dongbin accepts the job with this solemn vow.
So for passing, he receives his signing bonus, the Heavenly Escape Sword. But hey, this is no ordinary weapon for fighting monsters. Its true purpose is to fight the enemies that live inside of us.
See, the sword technique is actually a metaphor for a spiritual practice. The first cut is about chopping away all the worldly noise and distractions. The second is for slicing away our attachments to regret about the past and anxiety about the future. And the final cut? That one reveals your true, pure self, free from things like greed, anger, and ignorance.
So why does this ancient story still matter so much? Because it's a perfect playbook for our own modern trials. I mean, when you're unfairly blamed by your boss at work, that's your trial of injustice. When you're totally consumed by financial stress, well, that's your trial of wealth. And that constant anxiety about what's going to happen next, that's your tiger.
You see, these challenges aren't just random misfortunes. They are tests of character. They're opportunities to chop away our own noise, slice away our own attachments, and reveal something stronger underneath. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What is your immortality trial right now? And how are you going to use it to discover the hero inside yourself?